Hi guys, thank you for tuning in to my YouTube channel. And for those of you who are here for the first time, my name is Catherine and I tell true stories. In my last story, I was talking about the demon she courted courtship with a demon. This is a true story of a lady who was working in the Gulf. She moved from Dubai to Kuwait just to meet her online date, to actualize the dating. If you check out my first video on the demon that she quoted, you will see about this lady that I'm going to continue after she broke up with her first date. She moved on and she met somebody else. Now, the guy she met this time was not an online guy. She was not feeling so well, so she was walking to a nearby hospital when suddenly a car just stopped by. A big car. They call them houses. And she thought it's one of these, guys who always view people who are not covered as prostitutes. Most of the time, if you're walking around and you're not covered in the Gulf, people view as you as a very cheap person. So she thought it's one of these people, and so she just ignored. But the car kept on driving in front of us, slowing down, and a guy pulled down the window. It was an African guy, and he looked out and called her. Well, she thought maybe he needs some help, maybe he wants to ask for direction, so she walked over and he asked her in a cool way. It was a bald headed man, totally no hair on the head. And he asked her, why is such a princess like you walking in this hot sun? Whoa! She was like, oh, one of these how much people. How much is a term used in the Gulf by the people who are looking for cheap women to spend time with, to pay them. So he was like, how much? She was thinking he's one of the how much people. And she just continued walking, but he stepped out of the car and he looked like a gentleman somehow. And he told her, I can drop you wherever you're going. You cannot be walking in this weather. The Gulf has a very soaring temperature that can go up to 50 degrees centigrade. And here she was walking because it was nearby, but it wasn't so hot, so she said. So she was like, okay, why not use a lift? With her stupid mentality of he's African, so it's okay. Forgetting that this African is the same African who you will get scared of in your country if he stopped the car for you to enter, but it's in the Gulf. One wonders why she entered, Miss Stella. And so she entered and she told him, well, you can just drop me to the nearby hospital. And then he told them, beautiful princess, my name is Tony. And she was like, okay, okay. She didn't tell him his name. And he was like, you're not going to tell me your beautiful name? And she realized that she had actually passed the hospital and she told him, I'm supposed to stop behind. I told you I'm stopping there. Can you kindly stop? That's when it struck her that she had actually entered a stranger's car. And he was like, relax. I am going home fast to get my jacket, my doctor's overall, and then I will drop you to hospital because I am also a doctor. So in case you miss any appointment, I can give you, no problem. I can attend to you. So she was wondering, do you even know what I'm suffering from before you start telling me you can attend to me? Are you even a doctor? Well, she's like, oh my God, I've blundered. And she was thinking of when the next traffic lights are going to turn red and then she will get out of the car. So she was like, can I just get off? Then you go get your jacket. No, please. He's like, no, we already passed. So I'm also in a hurry. I'll get my jacket and I drop you to the hospital. Do you know whether it's an emergency? So that you start talking of your jacket? Or did he just want to get her to his house? And she was like, she had blundered. And he kept on giving her praises and things like, you know, you know, when I look at you, you look like a very intelligent princess that I am driving. I feel so honored to drive such a beautiful princess like you. And so she was thinking of, oh, this sounds like a fairy tale. And she was thinking, why not give this guy a try? Because all the dates she's been having were from Tinder. You know, that dating application that has a lot of, all sorts of human beings that you can think of are on Tinder. The serial killers, the one night stands, they name it all on Tinder, and she was using that dating application because it was the only free one, or so she thought. And so she was like, wow, for the first time, I have met somebody on the ground. So she let him drive, and while they were on the road, there happened to be one local. A local is a person who already stays in that country, a Kuwaiti, the owners of that country. Locals are the immigrants, let's say, or the expatriates. They bring you over so that you do some work for them, or you come looking for a job because back at home you couldn't get. So there was a local driving by and was trying to overtake this Tony, and Tony was also trying to overtake him. So she was like, what the hell is this? This is a rally or what? I did not know that I am coming for a Grand Prix drive. And she was like, can I get off? You guys can continue with your, because she was now panicking because it was getting wild. Like it's a competition. Nobody wants to lose. Egos on the road. So she was like, this guy has an ego. That's the first red flag she noticed. But she let them continue competing because what could she do? She tried her level best to stop the guy, but he's not. And then the Kuwait happened to reach side by side with his car. He also had a big car. And he pointed at Tony from the car with his middle finger. And Tony also pointed with his middle finger as well. And he began shouting at the local. Tony now began shouting. This is the first time Stella is meeting this Tony and they're in the car. And this is the commotion she was having. So Tony began shouting at the local in the other car. Do you know who you are pointing the finger at? Do you know who you're pointing the finger at? I am the what? I am the executive blah blah something of this organization. He mentioned an organization and Stella thought, wait a minute. Wait a minute. This guy just told me he's a doctor and he's going to get his jacket, and now he's shouting at this local that he is the executive of something organization that I don't want to mention here. And she was like, oh my goodness, what a blunder. That was another red flag. She'd been conned and he's heading to his house and he's here shouting on the road. They can have an accident anytime because of the way they're driving out of their egos. And so he was driving and they're insulting each other. And Stella was thinking, as in she'd stayed in the Gulf for long and she knew that locals are the owners of organizations. And here is Tony shouting at a local that he is the executive of some organization. Who knows? Maybe he is the owner of the organization because the employees never get to see the owners. You don't even know the owner sometime. And here, Tony was shouting at a local that he is the executive of this, so he has no right to be shown the middle finger by another person. So Stella was like, oh my God, wow, what have I met over here? Online, on the ground, no difference. Now, he reached his house and he opened the gate with the remote control. The gate went up and he told Stella to go in so that he deals with this man alone. So Stella was like, well, she's never even been to that place before, but he just told her the door is open, you go in. Well, it was a big mansionette with 3 floors, and he seemed to own the whole place, so he told her. So she ran into the house because she panicked of the commotion that was happening outside there. She ran into the house and she was hearing noises, but she didn't know how to see this, and she didn't want to open the gate and look because she didn't know what this local is capable of. So she ran upstairs to have a clear view of the outside. When she looked outside, she saw this Tony had entered the local car. And she was wondering how did he manage to enter the local car? And he seemed to be begging. He seemed to be begging, 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 begging. So she was wondering, this is the same guy who was shouting with an ego at the local, and now he seems to be begging. And wait a minute, Stella saw something. It was a pistol held on the head of Tony by the local. Wow. When she saw that, she began looking for a way to get out from behind. But when she would look behind, she saw a pool and it was surrounded by other masonette. That was a communal pool surrounded by other masonettes, meaning that if she had to leave through somebody else's house and through their gate on the other side, but not just out. And she didn't know anyone here. And she was like, oh my God, what a blunder I have made. And once again, entered into a stranger's house. You don't know somebody. You have met somebody for the first time, and here you are in his house. What a trap. First mistake she made, she entered a stranger's car just because he was an African like her. Second mistake, she went ahead and entered his house. Well, we can say that maybe she was running away because of this guy, the local, but she could have as well taken another direction away from the villa. You don't have to enter the guy's house. I can say Stella was kind of also stupid. Sorry to say this, Stella, if you're watching this, but I think you must have been kind of stupid also just to do that. So finally, while she was still looking for the way out, suddenly she sees Tony enter the house looking so pale. You know, he was a black guy, but he was kind of light skinned, but she could see he was kind of in a shock, but he was trying to hide it. So she waited for the information like, what happened? But instead of the guy giving her the information of what happened because she had seen a gun pointed at him, he didn't mention the gun. He just said that guy is dangerous. And I gave him a piece of my mind though. But not knowing that Stella had seen everything from upstairs, a gun held on his head, like it was a warning. And he was telling Stella, that local wanted to see you also. He wanted me to call you out. So Stella was, call me out for what? He was like, I don't know, but he wanted me to call you out. And I refused. I was too powerful for him. Well, Stella was like, okay. And then he was like, so this is my swimming pool. My swimming pool. Stella can obviously see the pool is communal, surrounded by all the 6 villas that she could count that were in that compound. And Tony is saying it is his. And so she was looking outside, still wondering how she can get out, if this guy is dangerous, and if he has locked the door. And when she turned back, guess what she saw? Can you guess? You're looking at the pool in a glass door. A guy tells you that it's his pool. And that guy was dangerous. And he wanted me to call you. And when you turn behind, Tony is stuck naked. So she was like, what? I mean, why is this guy naked? Is he a psychopath? I mean, you just undress in front of somebody like that? And she headed for the door that she had entered through, hoping that it's not locked. Woo! Luckily enough, the door was open. And she managed to stand outside, and the guy was begging, don't be scared. I'm not going to do anything to you. Because he was scared that he was going to scream. So Stella told him, open the gate. Open the gate. The guy wore his trousers because he panicked. What struck Stella is that probably he's met so many cheap people, and the moment they see they mention it, the moment they see the pool and he tells them it's their pool, they just money minded, and so they will do anything he wants. And he thought he had met the same, but he was wrong. So Stella ran to the car. No, not to the car. He ran out, but the guy told her, no, I will drop you to hospital now. You wanted to go to hospital. It's not good for me to do this. I am sorry. I will drop you to hospital. And guess what? Stupid Stella entered his car again to be dropped to hospital. Wow. She wouldn't even ask him, okay, park the car outside and drop me to hospital. You're still in the vicinity of the compounds, the guy's compound, and you enter his car. He could still do anything in the car. Well, luckily he did not. But he looked so really pissed off by Stella. And he was looking so annoyed when he was driving her to hospital. Wow. Well, he dropped her to hospital, luckily enough, and decided that he will wait for her until the doctors are through with her. But Stella was, no, I will find my way home. I'm okay. No, 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 no. You know what? The nurse over there, they know me. They know me because I also work in this hospital part-time. So they were asking me if you are my wife. I think that is a sign. And Stella now was really convinced that this is a psycho. You don't even know the person. You have not even asked her whether she's married or not, and you have declared that the nurses asking if she is your wife is a sign that God is showing you a wife. Wow. Ridiculous, I tell you. Well, the doctors were done with her, and he made sure he comes back to pick her. On the way to her place, he almost threw her out of the car. Reason? He was thinking of how she rejected him back at his house. You can imagine. He was thinking of how she rejected him, but the ego could not just understand how a female can see all these riches and reject him. How? All the other ladies have been here. And I think she thought that probably he has done whatever he wants with them after they looked out and believed, oh, this guy is this and this. And she asked him if he's actually a doctor because she heard him talking to the Qatari about his being an executive in another company. And that made him flare up with anger and threatened to throw her out of the car if she asked anything about him again. I will throw you out of the car. Again, Stella was like, what a blunder I have made. She panicked. This time it was her time to go pale because he was driving and at the same time threatening to throw her out of the car. And Stella was hoping for the red lights once again. And she was like, how did I come into this car again? Does this guy have some witchcraft? I mean, first incident she regretted of getting into the car. And here again, she's regretting. Whose fault is it now? The guy or Stella's? Tell me in the comments. Well, Stella just kept calm. Not calm, but she was shocked and was like, wow, I didn't know I was going to die this way. But luckily enough, he dropped her home and his mood has changed into a calm mood. And he said he hopes to see her again. Wow. And stupid Stella agreed to see him again. Believe it or not. This time he invited her to his house because he told her there's a certain professor, a well known, renowned professor, very famous, he's coming for dinner at his house. And so he wants Stella and him to cook for him. And she was so excited, like, wow, that sounds so cool, you know. Because she was so fed up of the online guys. And here is one guy that met her on the ground and was asking her to come and cook for a very famous person. Wow, Stella was stupid. Well, she went and she introduced Stella to the, funny enough, the professor was there. She introduced Stella to the professor as in, meet Stella, my fiance. Wow, what? Fiance. And while Stella was cooking, she was seeing baby bottles in the kitchen, you know, baby items, you know, a feeding bottle for a baby shaking things, whatever those were. And so she was wondering silently. When he introduced her as my fiance, her mind went back to those things, you know, in the kitchen, the baby bottles. And he told her Stella was actually a waitress in a five-star hotel, but she introduced Stella as the manager of the food and beverage in a five-star hotel. And she was like, if this guy is embarrassed of my profession, what, why is he, what am I even doing with him? Another red flag. Why are you cheating about the lady's profession? That was weird. And after the dinner with a whatever professor, he called her to the private room, to a private room. Tony called Stella to a private room. And so she went and she was not expecting like he'll try anything because the professor, whoever was around. She went to the room and he tried intimacy and failed. Stella walked out and he came out, you know, zipping his trousers in front of the professor to show that something happened. And Stella was so pissed off, you know. What are you trying to show the professor that something happened yet nothing happened? This was a cycle she was dealing with. And then one time it happened that he stopped calling. He stopped calling for a time for like 1 month, and Stella was so happy that finally he's gone. And so she didn't have to struggle to let him go. So a month passed, she hadn't heard from him. No call, nothing. Well, she never wanted to call because she was also kind of fed up of that madness, you know. He suddenly called, and she was like, whose number is this? Because she had already deleted his number, but he suddenly called, and she looked at the number, she recognized it. And it was Tony. That was after a month. And she was like, who's this? He's like, this is your husband. What do you mean, my husband? I don't remember being married, Stella said. No, this is your husband. You don't remember Tony? She was looking at Stella. He was looking at Stella as a very desperate lady because, of course, she must have been very desperate. How do you stand a psycho with all those threats, life-threatening threats that he had given you, and you still decide to go out with it? That was desperation. And that's why he was now acting like this, close her out for a month, and just come back like nothing had happened. Hi! Then she remembered all those, whenever she'll go to the toilet, she will see different shampoos, and she was like, this guy has a bald head, and his shampoos are getting finished. Does he wash the bald head with the shampoos? Those guys with bald heads, can you please put in the comments if you can wash your head with the shampoo for bald head? Maybe it's scalp shampoo. I don't know. And he used to have some massage oil which used to disappear, go down and down and down, and he will say it's his sister's. His sister came to visit, so she's the one massaging him. Wow. So Stella told him, I don't remember being married, and I don't know who I'm talking to. And she blocked him. And that was the end of him. But funny enough, he will still write emails. She will see his emails because they had somehow some email addresses exchanged, and he used to send emails that went unreplied. And she finally blocked the emails as well. So that was demon number 2 for Stella. In my next video, you will see demon number 3 that Stella quoted. So if you like my content, like, share, and subscribe. Ciao.